Hey everybody, welcome to another Midweek Conversation. That's how we started these.
Yeah, first try.
If you've never been to or watched one of these before, we talk about the past week's message, the readings, the follow-ups, any questions that may arise, anything like that. But always a good time and always designed to continue the conversation going from Sunday, right? We don't ever want the message to be something that we're just thinking about Sunday. And so I enjoy what I get out of these and the opportunity to continue to think. So hopefully they're a blessing for you as well. This week we were preaching on kind of setting up. I use this to really lay the foundation for Habakkuk that we're about to get into, because I believe this story in Matthew 14 really establishes the stage well and introduces some ideas that I'll be able to reference as we get into Habakkuk and be like, hey, remember when we preached through Matthew 14? Do you remember that lesson from Peter's life? But still a one-off. And so any questions, comments, thoughts about it tied to Bruce's or anything or wherever the conversation wants to go?
Yeah, I think it's funny we said it 2 or 3 weeks ago of a sermon where you don't learn anything new. You're just reminded of stuff you already know, and that being a good thing. And I think that it really was a good thing this week. But in light of that, there's not necessarily any clarifying questions that need asked. So as I was thinking about it, I sat with that one point you had of, having to leave something behind, and illustrated through the disciples' lives how they had to leave family behind and jobs behind and wealth behind in the case of some of the tax collectors. And I did think about, maybe some practicality of that. But really, as I thought about it, just asking you for, what are some things you've left behind and how has God used that to kind of encourage you?
Yeah.
And I have examples if you want me to start first. But,
sure. So I'll try and I want to answer this question very honestly without maybe sharing some specific details. I don't want to come across the wrong way, but one of the things that you mentioned is specifically from the message that I'll build on is, leaving money behind. I was a business major and this is why I said I want to talk about it carefully because I don't want to come across like arrogant or anything, but with a pretty good resume. I'd worked for some pretty notable companies and built a good resume. And then at a fairly young age relative to business, got hired at a management level position and got the opportunity to really be on the management side of things. And so I had a couple companies that were pretty interested in me. Even living here in town, I had 2 different companies kind of headhunt me and try and recruit me and having to tell them I'm actually getting out of business. I feel called into ministry. I know that I left potential earnings behind to follow this call. This probably won't come as a shock to anyone, but most pastors make far less than most business executives.
No, sure.
So, right. Growing up a youth pastor's kid, we were at the pinnacle of the earnings market every year. So in a very real sense, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I left money behind in the career change, if you will. Even on a practical sense in following Jesus, Adeline and I have still left money behind. And everybody who's giving to the church, this is also an encouragement for you if you're watching it, right? Everyone who's giving to the church is leaving money behind, right? Because you are saying, hey, before I budget for myself, I'm giving first fruits to God. And so that right there, that's an extra vacation. That's an extra house project. That's you know what I mean? So certainly we've experienced that as well. Friendships, that was one of the examples from the sermons. Friendships, by the grace of God, me entering ministry didn't really cost me any friendships. Now I'll say this and say it very respectfully and carefully. Some of the decisions we've made as a church, some of the stands we've taken as a church, some of the places where we have stood for our convictions as a church has cost me friendships. So I certainly have lost friendships in the years of being a pastor. In places where we wouldn't compromise or things like that. That has cost me friendships. So I've definitely seen relationships get left behind and following what I believe is right and hopefully have done so in a loving and humble manner. And so the friendships aren't getting left behind burning in tatters, but just because, hey, I can't keep going in that direction type thing. Time time definitely gets left behind. You know, as great as it was, and I really did enjoy business. I really did love it. Never once did I have to leave the house at 9 at night because I was part of the management team for the company. You know, I never had to give up Saturdays or, you know, a Sunday afternoon or anything like, and so, yeah, lost a lot of time flexibility, in entering ministry, but that's because, you know, we don't plan life emergencies and catastrophes for when it's convenient during regular business hours. Right. But that's the nature of ministry. So I think that's, let's see, we talked about physical position, you know, that is actually one of the biggest answers to prayer that God gave us is when we were facing the call into ministry, we were actually really heartbroken at the thought that we were going to have to leave this area behind and go somewhere new. And so God was incredibly gracious in opening doors to call us into ministry here in the town we love and with the friends that we love and the place that we love. So that was one, but I've got plenty of buddies who, you know, grew up in this town, lived in this town their whole life. And then God was like, okay, well, I'm calling you like 7 states away, you know, and it's, whoa, I have to leave everyone I know to go do this. So I certainly am aware that in that regard, God has been very kind to us. But yeah, good question.
Yeah. Some of the ones that came to mind for me, and even thinking of it just more like in being a Christian, not just being called into ministry, because honestly, it would probably mirror a lot of yours in being called into ministry, but things like this one feels very vivid because it was, you know, a few years ago, but feeling called away from like gossip, like feeling like having to give up stuff like that. And it sounds funny. People would always laugh at me when I would tell people I struggled with it. And I'd be like, I don't know, it's a work environment. Like
honestly,
it's not just older women who gossip.
No, I was going to say anybody who says that gossip isn't a problem, I'm going to be like,
you probably got
like you probably got. I've worked with the one office I was in was like 12 guys and 2 ladies, and so they just always ate lunch on their own anyway. And it felt like all that happened around the break room was talking about. Now, I didn't live in the town, so I didn't know 90% of the people, right? But I'd show up on Monday and be like, "Did you see who got pulled over for a DUI?" Right? And I was like, "No, I commute an hour. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened in your town." Yeah. But all the guys did. So yeah, gossip is very much a real one. Yeah, I think that's a good one. You talk about, okay, let's piggyback off that. Leaving things behind to follow Christ, just as a follower of Christ, not specifically as a pastor. I think back to high school, it was very widely known, like, Sam's the Christian, right? Like, and so in many ways, God used that in incredible ways. And I got to have incredible conversations with people. And, you know, we had a classmate die in a car crash. And people who never wanted to listen to me talk about Jesus, all of a sudden were very interested. Like, hey man, Derek just died. Like, can we talk about this? Right? I had a friend whose boyfriend died. Like, and a different death, but a friend who had never really been interested in the whole God thing, right? Like, I like you, Sam, but not the whole Jesus person thing. All of a sudden her boyfriend dies, like goes off to college. He was a year older, goes off to college. He dies. She wants to talk. So in many ways, following Christ in high school opened up a lot of doors, but there were costs, right? There was a recognition that you talk about relationships back then. There were definitely some people who were very happy to hang out with me, you know, at school. And then it was kind of like outside of it, it was like, no, because we want to do some stuff. So it wasn't like a relationship where I was like, man, I really want to be there doing that with them. But it was very much a reality of, no, I can't participate in that. Yeah. So at first, you know, it was on the table. And then after the third or fourth time, I was like, guys, no, I'm never going to say yes to that question. It was like, oh, okay, then we'll just stop inviting you. Like, we'll just stop hanging out with you. And so there were definitely friendships at a time where I look back and I'm like, man, I really enjoyed hanging out with them. And then, you know, it's kind of, we went our separate ways type of thing. I went to a big enough high school that sort of stuff happened. So different things like that, you know, you do. In following Christ, you have to leave behind. Even here's one from my most recent job, the job I was in right before I got called into occupational ministry, complaining. bitterness.
Yeah.
You have to leave that behind. And there were a couple times where management, and I was part of management, which also made it, but we'd make a decision that was best for the whole company, even if it affected me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get to complain about it. There were times where, so I was part of management, but I wasn't like the highest level, right? Yeah. And so there were times where the people, even like the people above me, would make decisions that adversely affected me. And I'd get the email the same as everybody else, like, hey, here's the new policy. And I'd be going, I don't, and everybody else would, all right, well, let's start trashing the boss. And I'd be like, I just don't have that right. I gave that right up.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a big one. Complaining at work, gossiping at work, like the amount of conversations you have to give up. And, it sounds funny because it's not like sacrificing like, house and home and stability and stuff, but it is giving up that momentary social acceptance.
Yeah.
Because
that's what it's getting at. It's giving up that ability to blend in.
Yeah.
Right. And there are, adages about, right, the hammer that stands up is the one that gets nailed down. Right. So like, it's giving up that ability to fly under the radar and to be one of the crew and be like everybody else. It's, it's giving up the anonymity of looking like everyone else. And in a lot of ways that's good. And it will invite some, like I certainly would get made fun of for not participating, even by adults, right? Like if you've never been made fun of by someone who's old enough to be your mom or your dad, it's a very weird feeling. You know what I mean? Like, but that happens because as a follower of Christ, we've sacrificed blending in and being like the rest of the crowd.
Yeah. And talk about giving things up that are, again, I would call them low stakes, but very noticeable. It's like, I used to really pride myself on being very caught up in like media and stuff. Not news media. I've never enjoyed the news very much, but like just general media, like what people are watching on TV or movies or whatever. Like me and my friend prided ourselves on going and seeing like a movie every single weekend and stuff. And just the feeling of being called of, no, like you understand that your standards are different now. Yeah. Your standards have changed. And so.
Yeah, I know that movie that everyone's talking about, but you have no need to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Like, okay, then I can't participate in the conversation on Monday. Like,
I can't participate in the conversation, or I can't, understand people's references, or I can't and it, it's a big deal. When I think I was 16 when Game of Thrones was like a huge deal and terrible show. Please don't watch that show. But it was very tempting to just give in to the fact that everyone was watching it. All my friends were watching it. All my siblings were watching it. Everyone around me was watching it.
That's all anybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to feel like the weird kid who can't take part in the conversation, right? Like they're talking, have you seen this movie? What about this movie? And you're like, I enjoy Little House on the Prairie. Like nobody wants to be that guy, right? Like,
yeah. And so I feel like that for me was something that, again, lower stakes. I didn't have to be personally like hurt by giving it up, but it was still meaningful to me. And yet it was so worthwhile to give it up.
Well, and I think, honestly, and this is hard for our ego to hear, but by the grace of God, most of the people watching this, I still don't understand YouTube algorithms. So maybe you're watching this in another country. And if you are, and you're in a country where there really is a very high cost to following Christ, may the Lord bless you for that. Like we are praying for you. But most of us watching this, engaging in this conversation at CBC, we live in a relatively low stakes environment. We're in a country that has freedom of religion. So like, yes, could you theoretically get fired for the explicit reason you're a Christian? Yeah. But then guess what? Our Constitution gives you the right to go sue that, and that's a court case. You're going to get that job back, or you're going to get enough money that you don't have to get that job back. Right. I don't know anybody who's been evicted because they're a Christian. I don't know anybody who's received a death threat because they're a Christian. And so I want to be very careful that we never martyr ourselves, right? Christians in Syria, I know just what you're going through because I couldn't talk about Game of Thrones with my coworkers, persecution, right? Like, no, let's not over martyr ourselves, and let's not minimize what sacrifices we are making to follow Christ, right? Like, let's not minimize the call that we are trying to follow. And so if you're somebody who's watching it and you're like, oh yeah, my friends all read this book or watched this movie and I didn't join in, like, okay, good for you, right? Like that's genuinely awesome. So don't downplay that and dismiss that. And so you're right. Low stakes is a great word because it's not no stakes, and it's not my life is on the line.
Yeah. So second part of that question then, how has God kind of blessed you in that? Because you look at the disciples, and one of the specific blessings they're given is you give up father and mother and wife, and you gain all of that. And it's this beautiful reference to the church of the family of God coming together. So how's God blessed you in it?
Okay, going back to high school, right? I gave up being invited to things. I gave up being part of certain things. I gave that up, but I earned respect, right? And so I got to be the one that people, sure, maybe they didn't send me a text when they wanted to, go crazy Friday night, but I got the text when something bad happened, when they found out their parents were getting divorced, when they found out, their sibling was getting kicked out of college because, I got the opportunity to then, because I had earned their respect, God bless that with opportunities for fruitful conversations down the road. You fast forward to some of the other things I talked about, right? Leaving business and earnings potential behind. We've never, I feel like I'm the richest person in the world. I'm blown away. Like when I literally think about it, I'm like, man, we've got 2 cars that work. We've got a house that we can entertain people in. My daughter's got snacks in the cupboard. I really feel like I'm living out that daily bread, right? I have what I need for the day. This is so good. I've got a savings account, right? That's wild. I never want to take that for granted, that I actually have money in savings, that if, when we bought our house, you had to make repairs, and little things right away. And it wasn't like, oh, well, we just can't. I was like, man, oh my goodness, I even have money in savings. This is awesome. Growing up a pastor's kid, I joked earlier, right? Growing up a youth pastor's kid, when the prevailing mindset was youth pastor, pastors need to live below the poverty line. Yeah. The experiences our family got to go on and got to do, it never felt like we were somehow lacking financially. Looking back, we've even talked about it as siblings. Looking back, we're like, oh yeah, we were definitely on the lowest end of the income that we all knew, right? Looking back as an adult on the friends I had, and what their parents did, I'm like, oh yeah, we definitely didn't have as much money as the vast majority of my friends. But it always felt like our life was richer. And God has provided in so many cool ways for me to get to go places and do things and have conversations with people. So there's never been a sense of oh man, I really wish I had that, higher salary range back. I've always had what I needed. I have what I need. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I lack nothing. I've got what I need. And so that's never been in doubt. What were some of the other things we talked about? Time, right? Yeah, I've lost time. But you know what? It's always been really fruitful. And it's always been done in service of the Lord. And so it's always been, there's been joy to it. And there's been the opportunity to see this is what it looks like to be at peace. You know what I mean? I've been friends with a lot of adults, some Christian, some not, who they don't have peace. And to be able to go through life with peace of heart is mind blowing, right? We were on a walk the other night and I was quiet for a little bit, and Adeline was like, what are you thinking about? And I was like, man, honestly, just how good life is. I'm proud of our marriage. I'm proud of our family and I'm proud of our church. Come on now. Yeah. So how has God blessed me in leaving things behind to follow him? I honestly can't think. It's hard to fathom having a richer experience of life than what I'm giving to live right now in terms of joy and peace and just abiding in the goodness of my Father.
Yeah, I would agree completely. It made me think of again, giving up gossip, giving up complaining at work. I never realized how big of a source of negativity those things were. And I never realized how big of a weight would come off my shoulders because of that. And things like media, and realizing the way that affected my mind. And again, how big of a weight was taken off of me. And all of a sudden, feeling, like you said, proud of what we do in the evenings with our time.
Yep.
As opposed to going to bed going, should we have watched that? Just so we could talk to so-and-so about it. You know,
I kind of regret that.
And just being satisfied. You know, I feel like we're always questioned with like, well, if I give that up, will I still be happy? Will I still be satisfied? And yes.
Yes.
More so.
Like exceedingly so.
Yeah.
I've never once looked back on the things I left behind, maybe in high school, right? 'Cause especially as a high school. I mean, nobody enjoys it as an adult. There's no adult who enjoys feeling left out. But as a high schooler, that really stings, right? And so finding everybody was together on a Friday night except for you. So maybe in the moment, there's like, oh, man. But then when you take a step back and look big picture and realizing like, oh, no, Jesus talked about, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Like, this is an abundant life. And that's really beautiful. And so... I think of Paul, right? Whatever I've left behind, like Christ is ahead, and that's worth it. Yeah. Good questions.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know how we can pray for you. If you've sacrificed something, if you are sacrificed something and it's weighing on you, let us know so we can be praying for you and encourage you in that regard and commend you for that. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
See you.
Hey everyone, Pastor Sam. Thanks so much for joining us on a midweek conversation. We hope it challenged you, encouraged you, kept this past Sunday's message at the front of our hearts and minds throughout the week. As always, if you have questions or comments you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. Otherwise, you can find more content like this here on our channel. Make sure you subscribe to stay up to date, and we'll see you next time.